precision as we get older isn't necessarily our friend because we have creases and folds that go beyond where the corner of our eye is, which can make eyeliner look a little weird. Hello, today I'm sharing my current no makeup look, which is quite different now that I'm over 40 than it was when I was, say, 25. As we get older, the things that worked for us when we were younger tend to not work the same anymore. I know for me that no makeup look that I used to do is making me look a little bit tired now. We have more things to deal with as we get older, so it can take us a little bit more time to accomplish kind of the same thing. We start to lose a lot of things that we once produced naturally, so our eyes can start to look a little sunken in, look a little more hidden. It's harder to enhance them while still having our makeup look natural. Our skin can look a little dull, a little sallow. We have more things to even out, more things to correct, some redness to deal with, most of us anyway. So I have a couple of methods that I've been using regularly and really enjoying for my no makeup looks and natural looks, and I thought I'd share one of them with you today. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome if you're new, and let's go ahead and get into this kind of enhanced no makeup look that will work for anybody, but will be particularly good for those of you that are over 40. Now, even though I applied my skincare products and my sunscreen earlier in my bathroom, I'm going to do a couple of quick prep steps that keep the finish of my skin looking really natural and my lips and help my makeup last really well throughout the day. For my lips, I'm going to apply this It Cosmetics Je ne sais quoi lip balm. I've just really been reaching for this a ton. I like the ingredients. It feels good. It hydrates and it kind of just helps fill out those little vertical lip lines. The Kopari Starry Eye Balm I've talked about a ton here on my channel. I adore this. I've used it quite a bit. I'm about to hit pan and I have a backup. I just lightly tap my finger in here and rub my two ring fingers together and just gently pat this right underneath my eye all the way across. It has coconut oil and caffeine to help depuff. So I did already apply eye cream, but this just gives an extra boost that helps. I almost use it as a primer of sorts, and I feel like it brightens just a little bit as well. As you can see, I have very sparse brows. They're uneven, and this has increased with age. I know it has for a lot of you too. My brows take me the longest. So if I want them to look very natural, I'm using something very finely tipped so that they will look like brow hairs. I've recently started using a pen again. This is the MAC Shape and Shade Brow Tint in the shade Spiked. I'll just show you what it looks like. I feel like it can go a little bit dark if I'm not careful. You have to go extremely light-handed with these types of products. I mean, you almost don't even want to feel it. I hate doing this on camera because I feel like I get impatient and then I go too heavy-handed and then you think I do a terrible job at it on a daily basis. I mean, I feel like I do pretty well. If you use a brow pen, it's very important to rest your elbow on a table for stability. I usually kind of start in the middle of the brow and lightly just start feathering in the direction of the brow hairs. Sometimes when I first start, it starts out a little bit iffy because I have to get the pressure right. And see, I just went too heavy-handed. So if I go too heavy-handed, actually, this is really good that I did that. I'll take a spoolie immediately and just kind of almost buff it out, and then it looks natural. So I kind of get my line going, and then I go back up to the top and kind of fill in there. And then I go towards the front. And I try and be patient while that sets a little bit, because if I take a spoolie through it too early, it will wipe most of it away. But once I take a spoolie through it here in a little bit, it should work itself out. I'm not a brow expert. I just do what works best for me, what I've kind of been liking. This has been it. If I want a quicker method, I will use the pencil. I feel like that's good enough. That's where we're leaving it. So the reason why I did my brows first is because I just feel like that looks the most natural. Our brows are on our faces first anyway. This is where we're at for right now. My brows are never perfect. They're never even. I also feel like that looks like it's the most natural. Now that that eye balm has soaked in a little bit, I'm going to take the Bobbi Brown Corrector Stick in the shade Bisque on my finger. I just like the warmth of my finger with this product, especially on days like this. I'm taking a little bit of it on my darkest parts just to do a little bit of correcting so I don't need quite as much concealer. I have dark circles and under eye hollows, which are a little bit more evident in person than they are underneath these lights that are allowing you to see what I'm doing. I currently have two go-to methods for doing no makeup looks. One involves just primer and kind of spot concealing. It's actually what I used for my skin in a recent video where I didn't use foundation with the rest of my makeup. I'll put a clip right here so you can see what my skin looked like, and I'll link that video down below, along with all the products I'm sharing in today's video, as well as the skincare I used beforehand, because I know a lot of you are curious about that as well. The other method involves using a skin tint or a skin evening out type of product. Now, when I use a skin tint, I sometimes find I don't need to take the time with concealer except for underneath my eyes. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. Let me know in the comments if you also want to see when I use a primer and concealer only. I can do another video on that too if enough of you want to see it. I'm really picky about skin-like products. They can't just look natural, they have to look like skin. I have a few that I rotate depending on what the weather's doing, how hot or cold or humid it is, the finish I want, how long my day is going to be. So I'll have my current go-to products linked down below that I've been loving and will work for various skin types. Just for reference, my skin type is combination with an oily T-zone, but there are options that will work for everyone. I have had so many requests to do a demo of the Bobbi Brown Skin Longwear Fluid Powder Foundation. It's a holy grail product for me. It's bulletproof, it looks like skin, it minimizes the pores and lasts all day long, even in heat and humidity. No primer required. You can use any skin evening type product you want. This is just what I'm using today. It's very important to shake it up well. I just mixed natural tan and warm beige on the back of my hand to give me my proper shade. I don't think they make natural beige anymore, so I'm gonna need to get a different shade when I replenish this. I'm almost out and I will be replenishing it. Okay, so let's look at what I need to even out and kind of liven up. I'm going to apply this on half of my face with a dry sponge. And now I think this is absolutely perfect for normal to oily skin. Again, you can use whatever you want. This sets quickly, and so I'm blending pretty quickly, but that's another reason why I like it, because I can apply it pretty quickly. And yet again, I forgot to clip my hair back. So this is a natural matte finish, and as the day goes on, it's going to even settle in the skin more, and it just even things out so nicely. So I'm going to do this side of my face and be right back. This is actually a little more coverage than I intended to do today, but I'm happy with the way it looks. With the finish, it is matte now, a natural matte, but as the day goes on and I'm out in the heat, my oils will kind of mix in and it will look even more natural. So I kind of like starting out this way. Now I'm going to move on with concealer. This is optional. This is Charlotte Tilbury Hollywood Flawless Filter. I kind of mix it in with my Do or Forever Skin Correct concealer. The reason why I dot a little bit of Hollywood Flawless Filter in with it is because it does give just a natural glow under the eyes where I am dry and textured. It just helps keep it looking moisturized as the day gets a little bit longer. So I'm just dotting. This looks like I have a lot of concealer on, but I really don't. It's because of the Hollywood Flawless Filter. Again, that's optional. You can just use concealer. I like using the warmth from my fingers. I feel like it makes it look really natural. I pull this area slightly taut so that the product really gets in the crevices. I think the key with concealer is not to use too much so that you look like you have on a ton of makeup, and you don't want it to be too brightening, yet you want it to brighten a little bit so that you do look kind of awake. And if you have under eye hollows, like I do, if you're a little bit sunken in that area, you do want to kind of brighten just a little bit so that you don't look tired. I would say maybe go a half a shade down from your natural face shade. And I like to kind of pat this down a little bit further so that I don't just have reverse raccoon eyes, you know? So I would say that looks about right. You're seeing the sheen from this in my lights, which you won't see here in a second. I personally like to use a cream bronzer for this no makeup look. I'm using the Tarte Breezy bronzer in Seychelles. I have a couple that I reach for the most. I will list those as well. I just dip my brush in this and use it along the perimeter and kind of sweep it where I would naturally get sun, because that looks the most natural. It's personal preference whether you want to contour or not when you do your no makeup look. Some people do to give a little bit more bone structure, while some people want to, you know, keep things looking a little bit more natural. I'm sweeping this bronzer across my nose onto my cheek area because that is where I normally get sun. It's really all about what works for you. If you find you have better control with a sponge, use a sponge. One thing I forgot to do earlier was add a touch of concealer as an eye primer. And this is kind of key when you're doing no makeup look because you really want to even out any discoloration because this is going to actually help you look a little bit more awake. And we're dealing with our hood that can get a little bit heavier as we get older here in a minute. So I'm going to go ahead and apply that so that it can kind of be setting down. I meant to do this earlier. Sometimes I only use bronzer. I think it can give a really pretty look, or I'll use kind of a natural bronzer shade like this shade from Merit Beauty. This is the shade Terracotta. Other times I'll add a little bit of a flush to my cheek. Today I'm using Bare Blush from Beauty Pie. I really like their pot blushes, plus they're easy to use. So I'm gonna lightly tap my brush in, and I'm actually gonna tap it on the back of my hand to make sure I don't have too much product, kind of swirl it around, and just tap it on the parts of my cheeks where I tend to get sun. Again, I want this to look very, very natural. Somehow this is turning into a sun-kissed no makeup look. And I realize that I'm looking a little white underneath my eyes because I have that Hollywood Flawless filter under there, which is reflecting in my lights. But when I set things, that will change. So see how just natural, pretty, easy that looks? And now I'm going to do something a little bit out of order. I am going to apply my lip liner. I know I have not done my eyes yet. I have not set my face. I like to do this before I apply powder or setting spray or anything. I just feel like it looks more natural. I want my lips to look a little bit fuller, so I'm going to slightly overline and fill in just to camouflage any vertical lip lines, but it's still going to look natural. I'm using the shade Warm Nude from Koki. I'm slightly overlining my lower lip. I'm going up to my Cupid's bow and slightly filling that in just a little bit. And I mean, just barely overlining, just a hair, and rounding out the curve of my Cupid's bow. So now I'm going to kind of curve this down so that it reaches my actual lip line at the corners. And just slightly fill this in. The inside of my lips is kind of white, so I feel like filling them in just really kind of helps things out. Before I set my face, I'm going to take this cream bronzer from earlier, whatever cream bronzer you used, and I'm going to use this on my eyes. I know you might not think to use a cream bronzer on your eyes, but it's going to look really natural while giving a little bit of a lift if you have a heavy hood. If I look at you straight on, not lifting my eyebrows the way I do, my hood kind of conceals a lot of my eyelid space. So I'm going to give a little bit of a lift to my eyes that can also look a little bit downturned because this top lid also tends to kind of make my eyes look a little bit droopy. I'm taking this Rephr 26 brush and just tapping it in here, tapping a little bit of the excess off on the back of my hand, and I'm just running this right along the lower lash line. This is going to help my eyes look a little bit bigger. I'm using a very light hand, and I'm taking this up almost like an extension of my lower lash line. I know it's evident right now, but we're going to blend it out. Now I'm patting out any crease concealer I have on my lids. I'm taking a fluffier brush. This is the Rephr number 14, dipping it into this bronzer, tapping off any extra onto the back of my hand, and I am going to just take that into my crease up into the transition area, and I'm actually going to buff out the rest on my lids. When we used that bronzer on the lower lash line earlier and extended it up, it helped us not to go below that line, which helps lift. You may be fortunate and never need to set your makeup with powder or setting spray. I crease underneath my eyes no matter what type of concealer I'm wearing, and I get shiny in my T-zone if I don't set my makeup with powder. So I need a very skin-like, undetectable powder underneath my eyes and on my face. I am going to be using Givenchy Prism Libre powder today. I have the shade Rose. You kind of blend the shades together. It's very finely milled. Now, before you set anything under your eyes, you want to be sure and press out lightly any creases that may have formed while you were doing other things. You certainly don't want to set those in with powder. And because we apply cream products to the eye, we are going to set the eyelids as well, which is going to also help with mascara transfer. To ensure you don't crease, you may just want to pat that powder down really nicely with a sponge as well. I like to do that. This is going to look like a lot of powder, but it's actually going to fuse to the skin the more I press it in, instead of just being dusted across the top if I used a brush. I'm just patting it in until it all becomes one layer. Now, in a lot of these no makeup looks that are done by younger people, they simply curl their lashes and apply mascara and they're done. However, because of what I said in the beginning about our eyes kind of just looking a little bit smaller the older we get because of droopiness or, just kind of sinking in, whatever it may be, I do one thing that just, in my opinion, helps open them up a little bit more, helps give them a little bit more of a lift, and it makes me feel a little bit more confident with this look. And now you may be able to see this little bit of eyeliner, but I just really like it with this look. You don't have to do this. So I'm taking my Cocoa Caviar Stick from Laura Mercier. You can use a brown eyeliner. I'm just going to take a very fine, thin, slanted brush. I'm going to start with a little flick, just a teeny tiny one so that I don't go beyond where my upper and lower lash lines meet. That's very important. If you go below that line, your eye will look droopy, and that's the opposite of what we want to do. I'm then just going to stamp this fine little brush along my lash line. You can be kind of messy because we're going to smudge this out, and I'm taking about halfway. I don't want it to be too thick because I want this to look very natural. I'm making sure these two lines meet. Then I'm taking a very fine pencil brush. This is the Refer number 23, and I'm just smudging that out. I'm kind of making it to where that's almost filled in looking. And you can do this with a lighter brown. This is just a kind of darker brown. If I need more pigment, I'll just dip that brush back into my eyeliner. I just don't want this line to be too long. I don't want this to look unnatural, but yet we need a little bit more eye-opening the older we get. These no makeup looks without anything around the eye, they just don't really work the same way they did when we were younger. So the reason why I did the smudging is because you don't have to be precise, and precision as we get older isn't necessarily our friend because we have creases and folds that go beyond where the corner of our eye is, which can make eyeliner look a little weird. So the smudgier it is, the more flattering it is. Also, if your hood is coming down kind of far to where the eyeliner is invisible, you can see it when you blink and when you make expressions, it's there. And if you add a little bit here, you still have a little something around your eye. It can still look natural and lovely. Now you can be completely literal about the no makeup look and not do eyeliner. That's completely fine. I just find it doesn't flatter me like it used to. And I have been asked, are you tired? Are you sick? One too many times for that. So I am curling my lashes with my favorite lash curler, also from Refer. I like to start at the base and kind of work my way out towards the length of my lashes a couple times and then back down and make a few weird faces in the process. One thing that I started doing that's a little bit different is taking my lower lash mascara. This is the Maybelline Lash Discovery Waterproof, and using it on my top lashes very lightly to give me just a base that's nice and separated and very natural looking. I mean, if I'm going for a day where I want to look like I just, rolled out of bed but look a little better than I do, this is what I'll use and nothing else. So I'm going to do one coat of Wander Beauty Unlashed Mascara just for a little bit of length, and I'm only going to do it on the outside of my lashes, and in the process I'm going to get it on my brow bone. That's great. Okay, after I apply my lip, I'm going to show you a couple of optional things that you may think are crazy, but I like doing them. So I started to apply a gloss and I took it off and I decided I'm going to go with the Maracuja Juicy Lip from Tarte. The shade that I'm using is Rose. It's a very pretty pink beige and this formula is just to die for. I swear I talk about these all the time. I don't know if this is crazy, but I know this shade of blush can be very intimidating, and yet it's so perfect for flushed natural looks. So I just wanted to put on a bit of this CoverGirl True Blend So Flush blush in the shade Hot Frenzy. So I'm just tapping my brush in it, and I'm even tapping it on the back of my hand to get off excess. And this is one where I'll kind of start it towards the back and I'll just add a touch right there, just right where I would normally flush. I know not all of you are into this whole taking it across the nose thing, but I really like it in the summertime. These types of shades can truly work for all skin tones, and they're really flattering. Now, sometimes I'll use a facial mist, not a setting spray, but a facial mist to kind of meld everything together. If you follow my channel, you know I'm a big fan of finishing powder. If you have dry skin or if you've just used powder, you're gonna think it's gonna look too powdery, but it actually doesn't. I'm using this one from Becca. I'm pretty sure it's discontinued. I'm going to list some other options down below that I reach for pretty regularly. But do you see how that kind of muted that red shade? So if you over apply blush or bronzer, it'll tone that down. Plus, it helps your makeup last longer. It can actually help your makeup look even more skin-like because of how it diffuses everything and blurs your pores and just helps everything look all melted together and natural. You can still use a finishing mist if you want to. I just sometimes stop here. So now that I'm in my mid-40s and I want a no makeup look that evens my skin tone and enhances my features, it takes a few more steps than when I was, say, 25, a few different steps, but it's doable. This one in particular with the products I used lasts me all day long. I hope you found this helpful and enjoyed it. If you did, I would love it if you would give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not subscribed already. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Bye.